My 16-year-old son was out at dusk walking to a friend's house, and he was crossing the street and got hit by a car. It was a hit and run.
Mm.
And no one saw it. A neighbor saw him in the road right afterwards and saw a woman get out of her car. He saw the woman stop, get out of her car, gasp, and drive off. And so, we'll never know really what happened there. But he got airlifted to the local hospital. And when we got there, they told us that we had to let him go. They said that he had a torn aorta that kills 90% of the people right on the scene, and it was going to rupture sometime within the next 24 hours if it wasn't repaired, but that they couldn't repair it there because he had multiple brain bleeds, and it was a super specialized surgery, and he'd never survive another airlift. And the doctor said, and even if he survived another airlift, he's not going to survive that surgery. And even if he survived the airlift and the surgery, he'd be so brain damaged, it wouldn't be worth it. I know. We're all sitting there listening to him say this. And my 15-year-old son looks at this doctor. And this, I think, is one of the most amazing pieces of it. And it is why, for parents listening, it is so critical to model courageous, not crazy risk-taking, but courageous behavior and positive mindset. Because my son looks at this doctor and says, so like maybe a 0.25% chance he'd make it. And later Bryce said to me, he goes, Mom, 0.25 is not zero. And he looked at the doctor and he goes, so we'll take those odds. And, you think about a 15-year-old looking at a surgeon going, we're overruling you, which is what we did.
Yeah.
And so we overruled him and had him airlifted. He survived the airlift. We got him to one of the top trauma centers in the country, which fortunately was 2 hours drive time and, a 30-minute helicopter ride away, to a badass surgeon who recruited 5 surgical teams in the middle of the night, put a stint in that wasn't approved for kids, said I figured I'd ask for forgiveness. He just was one of those people who you want on your team, and saved Grant's life. But that actually was the easiest part of the whole last 5 years. He was in the hospital for 4.5 months. He was in a deep coma for a couple weeks. And then I've always thought that, all I've ever seen are people in movies coming out of comas. And it's a very different situation when it's not a movie. Like I remember watching that movie while you were sleeping, and he wakes up and looks at everyone and smiles. And I'm like, I'm just waiting for that. They're like, listen, when he wakes up, it's going to be ugly. And I'm thinking, well, maybe he'll yell. I didn't realize that it'll be ugly for years. Like it's someone coming out of a coma, someone with this severe traumatic brain injury. It's very scary for a long time. They lose their internal editor, or out of a coma rather. And for Grant, it was like he was stuck in the terrible twos, but as a big 16-year-old. And I'm just like, don't worry, we've got this. I just need you to fight. I go, I will call in all of the top people from all over the place, but you've got to fight and you'll be better than before. And so I made a decision that this was going to be the best thing that ever happened to him and our family, and that he was going to be better than before the accident. And I think so much in life, it really gets down to what you ask for and what you focus on. And so I just said, how do I get him to be 110%? And that just became one of my guiding principles of how do I get him to be 110%. If people came in, doctors came in and they were like, oh, he'll never walk again. And, she'd hear all the doom and gloom. I'm like, you're off the team. Think about how many people live, because I believe so much of what we have is there are no victims, only volunteers. And, in life, I wasn't born wealthy. I wasn't given anything. I've worked and built everything I've had, lost it a couple times, rebuilt it. And I just think so much of what we get is our belief of what is possible.